been convinced that the global print industry feels like it lives on an island. It knows everyone on the island and it only ever talks to those people, but it's never left.
A warm welcome to Medragoni. Walla, Renee, Matt, why don't you come ashore and join us? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Print Island.
Hi, and welcome to Print Island's UK update. Apart from being in the midst of a heatwave, the news tends to be occupied by much of what it has been for some time. M&A activity, companies seeking investment, companies going out of business, and a lot of consolidation. The surprise at the moment is because these people will be influencing our lives moving forward for the positive. And I think it's also good to see that there are, despite rumours, a lot of young people still in the industry.
80% within the process, which is something that deserves a much closer look at for sure. We also had UPO coming out with something they call Clean Sort, and Clean Sort's removing the contaminants from the self-adhesive on the lift.
Now, is this a reflection of the print industry right now, two dominant players in the region? Is this something maybe we should be looking at for one of our Print Island episodes?
Coming up on this episode of Print Island. Hello, and welcome to this episode 2 of Print Island. If you're watching this, it means you've already joined the thousands of subscribers around the world who all have one thing in common. We all love print. Thank you for subscribing, and I very much hope you'll be part of the journey as we develop Print Island into the voice of the industry. Please rest assured that your support of the island means we can plough this investment back into supporting the global industry, which in turn, of course, benefits everyone. For example, this year we are launching a 30 under 30 campaign to support and champion our young people already working in the industry and encouraging more to join, of course. We'll bring you more details of that in the next episode. Print Island is made by printers for printers. So all the content that we create is with you and your business in mind. We've created a network of global hosts. We call them the Avengers, each with decades of hands-on experience in the industry, and they live and work on every continent. So we can bring you a truly global show with a wide range of opinions from around the world. We are adding new features all the time, including our Behind the Headlines feature. There are many media channels who bring you the news headlines, but we are going behind those headlines to talk about what they actually mean for the industry and how it might affect your business in these uncertain times. Starting from the next episode, we will have a guest reviewer on every time to go through all the print media that week, and we'll discuss in greater detail what is being written about. First guest is Mark Stevenson from Fujifilm. Plus, we want to hear from you, so we will open our feedback feature in the next episode. If you have any questions you would like answered by our global experts, please email them directly to me at richard@theprintisland.com. That's richard@theprintisland.com. We will do our best to answer every single question. Print Island is all about you, our subscribers. It's designed to inform, amuse, challenge, and bring a wide range of different opinions from around the fabulous world of print. So thanks again for subscribing, and let's get on with the show, hosted this time by Scott Mackie in Asia Pacific. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 2 of Print Island. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. You're somewhere in the world watching this, and I've no idea what time it is where you are, so I'm going to cover all the bases. Welcome to Print Island. My name is Richard Askham. I am the creator and producer of Print Island, and my guest host today is the wonderful legend that is Scott Mackie. Hi, Scott.
Hey, mate. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Do you know, I'm really good, actually, although it's raining here in the UK this morning, which we're not used to, because as anybody in the UK will know, it hasn't rained since 1972 here, so it's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I don't miss it a bit. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say you're out in. You tell us where you are today, and tell a little bit about yourself and your connections in the Asia Pacific region.
I've been in Asia Pacific now for 8 years, I think it is in total. Today, I am in the Philippines, which is my base most of the time when I'm not traveling around and talking and meeting with people, and it tends to be my home base. It's been a great place for the last few months, a pretty recent move. So, yeah, long may it continue.
And it's a nice part of the world, apart from the size of the mosquitoes that you've just shown me before we started recording.
Yeah, as I had a panic attack as a small sparrow with a pointy beak came flying towards me to take me out. Yeah.
Well, of course, we are on Print Island, which, as you know, is a tropical environment, so we should expect anything in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice part of the world, and you're very lucky to live out there. And of course, your experience in the print industry goes way back, into the mists of time. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about where you've been and what you've done over those years.
Wow. 50, I think I counted it up yesterday. So 53 years, I think it is now in the industry.
Okay.
Been across analog, commercial printing, packaging, web offset, folding cartons, turnkey fulfillment, short spell, and not that short actually, with Xerox in the UK, which is how I got into digital.
Mm-hmm.
Did a bit of consulting in the Middle East, which was fantastic. Again, related back to digital and expanding the market before I found my way over to Asia Pacific in Singapore back in 2016, which was honestly one of the best times of my life moving over. It was I'd always wanted to sort of make that transition, UK, Middle East, and then into Asia, and it was worked out fantastic. It was a great spell. I was with Fujifilm for 8 years, heading up graphic communications for them, and had the opportunity to fly around the world, actually helping them expand the business just before, I guess the last 2, 3 years, I think it was, before I left them. And this year set up my own consultancy and braved it. And it's been amazing so far. It's been a whirlwind few months, I have to say. And I know we've talked about that briefly as well, but I'm now still working in the industry, still working with global vendors, now as an independent and helping them expand their business, or working with SMBs and producers. And, it's been a really varied last few months, which has been fantastic. Yeah.
And I think that it's that variety, Scott, that you bring, and that experience that you bring to your role as our host in Asia for Print Island. And it's one of the most important things that we're trying to get across to people is the breadth and depth of experience of our hosts around the world on every Print Island episode. And I think it's that sort of, and I always talk about decades, so I'm glad you agreed with me with decades there. Decades of experience, but on all sides of the industry. It's very important for us as a producer of this content that it's made by printers for printers, and
Yeah.
so that we can talk in a way normally, naturally, authentically, genuinely about the print industry as it actually is, rather than the
Yeah.
glossy brochure version.
Yeah. I think that, that's one of the really fortunate things I've had, right? Which is I've had my fingers jammed in a printing press, and then the other side of it, I've cleared a paper path from a digital machine, and yeah, I've done lots of varied stuff over
All
the
the
years.
glamorous jobs.
All, all the really high-paying stuff that gives you
Yeah,
those memories, right? But that's yeah, that's part of the love for the industry, I guess.
yeah. Well, we're very lucky to have you as our Asia Pacific Print Island host, Scott. And I know
Yeah.
you've got a great guest lined up for this episode. So tell us a little bit about who you're going to be talking to.
Yeah, great. I mean, there's someone I've known for a long time. Interestingly, and our paths crossed again in Asia Pacific. Gentleman's name today is a guy called Andy Yarrow. He is the regional commercial director for Miraclon. And Miraclon, part of Montague Group. And for most people, I guess, watching this, probably don't know Montague Group. They're about a $4.1 billion entity, hold many technology companies, and Miraclon are just one of them. They're looking for innovation in the market. And for me, and knowing Andy, that's obviously an easy conversation for me to have. But actually, when we do talk about the industry and talk about their technology, I find it fascinating, quite genuinely. and I know that they're having great success. Now, again, I think we'll talk about it a little bit in a little while. But when you start to sort of peel back the layers on packaging and on the industry, you really start then to understand just how vibrant it is. I spend a lot of my time looking at statistics and data and trends and other things which I have an affinity to. And you can see that packaging and digital in particular is growing quite exponentially at times. But actually, again, we'll talk about it. That analog and digital flex, that was what was really interesting to me. And that is something that we'll talk about during the interview as well. Interesting company, huge history behind them, and they'll cover off when we start the interview as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to go off and work on my castaway beard, seeing as I'm living on the island now. It's a new attempt at growing a beard for me. It's the only part of my head that I can grow hair on. So I'm gonna try with that. I'm gonna leave the rest of Print Island episode 2 to Scott. Scott, please introduce Andy for our guests.
Thanks very much, Richard. Everybody, join me and Andy Yarrow for a fascinating discussion on Miraclon. Here we go. Hey, welcome to Print Island Asia. I'm joined this afternoon with Mr. Andy Yarrow from Miraclon. Andy is the Asia Pacific Regional Commercial Director for Miraclon. Andy, thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving a bit of your time. I know you are a bit of a global traveler, mate, up and down Asia Pacific. So thanks for giving us a short slot window of your time. Much appreciated.
My pleasure. You're lucky to catch me in Singapore, Scott.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Miraclon, a lot of people that will dial into this, they won't know who they are. Who's Miraclon? Who are they?
Well, good first question. So Miraclon was born out of the Kodak Packaging business.
Yeah.
So our customers, a lot of our customers still refer to us as Kodak, but 6 years ago, the business was acquired by a private equity company called Montague, based in London. And they took the business, they saw the opportunity and decided to invest in us. And we've been operating as an independent company now for 6 years, still with a lot of the same executive leadership team, a lot of the same salespeople, and obviously moving the company to the next phase is one of the things I've been brought in to help them do.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, you and I have actually known each other for quite a long time now, right? You've been in the industry over 20 years. Winding the clock
25,
back.
yeah.
25. Time flies, eh? You were, I think, before Miraclon, you were with Cornet. Cornet were bleeding edge, direct to garment, direct to fabric. Before that, you were a long time with EFI as well in the digital arena. And then moving over to analog, moving over to Flexo and the old industry of packaging, that must have been a bit of a leap at the time. Or how did that feel? What was the transition like?
It was strange, I have to say. As you rightly say, I'd spent a long time, half of my career pretty much at EFI, always been in digital to analog, or sorry, analog to digital transition.
Yep.
And quite honestly, I spent 2 years with a startup company that I thought was really, really interesting. This was Twine back in my brief sojourn into textiles, but it didn't really work out for whatever reason. And I was looking to get back into the industry. I kind of been and done all the usual steps, sign and display, commercial print, moving to digital, obviously textiles as well. But the opportunity came up to move into packaging, and as you say, moving in to sell from selling digital equipment to selling plates was a concern, I have to say. But speaking to the team and understanding more about the technology and knowing the types of customers we'd be working with really made that step a lot easier. And I have to say, I'm not doing this because I'm recording this interview with you and it'll be online. It's one of the most exciting roles I've ever had in my 26 years this year. It's probably the most exciting, most rewarding role I think I've ever had, which is fantastic.
Wow. What's it? I mean, it's amazing to hear, right? Because a lot of people would maybe underestimate the analog side of the business and how packaging was. Miraclon, Kodak Heritage. What's the secret sauce? What are you? taking
Well,
to
there's
market?
numerous things. So you say analog. I mean, the fundamentals of our technology are still very, very digital. So if you wind the clock back to where the technology started, I won't go through everything, but the main point that makes our technology so unique is two things. We have a different process to the other plate suppliers on the market for Flexo. So we're just in the Flexo space. We're not in offset or any of the other types of technology. So the number one thing really where we start the basis of our technology is with the Creo square spot laser. So having been in the Xerox world and sold a few Creos, I'm sure in your time many years ago, before I joined EFI, of course, you will remember the square spot laser. It's a fundamental part of our technology because what we do is instead of directly removing a carbon mask that most other, in fact, all the other Flexo players have on their plate, we image onto what we call a thermal imaging layer, which is a film product. Once we image onto that film, it gives you true one-to-one representation of not just a dot, but a pixel. So you can take a single pixel and image that onto the till. We then laminate that onto a plate and then do the exposure. So all the way through our process, it's a very unique set of steps that you go through, very, very different to everything else in the market. What we're doing when we image the dot is we're almost micro engraving what we call surface patterns or multiform surface patterns. So you imagine what we're doing on the top of a dot is effectively making a channel for the ink to be distributed onto the material. So these are the fundamentals of our process. The key part of it is that it's very repeatable, it's very consistent and very stable. So all the way through this process, the steps that you go through to make a printing plate are very accurate and very stable and very consistent. So that's really, I guess, to come back to your initial question, that's really the fundamentals of what makes us a different technology.
Yeah, wow. I mean, when you talk about that, right? And then we have, gravure is still so prevalent as well, right? Across the region globally as well. What's taking, I feel like it's like the offset to digital printing sort of migration. You've got a gravure to Flexo migration going on. I don't think that's happening so quickly. Is it? Or what's slowing it down? What's the cause for that?
So it's another great question. So the reality is in Asia, as I said earlier on, when I moved into this role, I had this view that Flexo was a legacy technology, that it'd been around for a long time and it wasn't really growing. But understanding when you're in this part of the business, that gravure, as you say, is so prevalent in Asia. And it's so prevalent because it's the way that things have always been done. It's relatively cost efficient these days because to make a gravure cylinder is pretty cheap. But the reality is where a lot of people are moving now is looking more at a sustainability factor. So using things like solvent, having factories that contain lots of solvents is not a good thing for the environment. They're very hazardous, of course. The speed at which people can change product designs. There's a lot of movement, a lot of focus on moving towards Flexo because it's much more sustainable. If you do it right, and we can talk about that later, it's much more efficient. And the reality is that whilst it's moving slowly, we're still seeing incredible growth. My growth in Asia last year was well over 20% in terms of our plate volume. So you can understand from that the volume of work that's moving from gravure, where there are probably 7,000 presses in Asia, moving from gravure to Flexo, there's still huge room for growth. One other thing, just to comment, obviously we had Drupal last year. I put a big focus to all of my team about tracking the number of new CI Flexo presses by the big manufacturers moving into the region. And we tracked something in the region of 50 presses last year that are being installed in Asia this year. So whilst it doesn't seem to be a lot with the grand scheme of things from the types of technology you and I have been used to selling over the years, understand that these are 3-4 million euro investments. So there's a huge step towards Flexo. And what we'll see over time is more acceleration as some of the big players start to get this right.
You talked about the efficiency part of it. What's the keys to that over gravure? What are you talking about there?
So we talk a lot about modern Flexo. So what we mean by modern Flexo is what you tend to find with people who've made the investment in Flexo maybe 5-10 years ago is they've not been able to make it work. And the reason why is they're trying to replicate gravure printing. So they'll print with 175 lines per inch. They'll use lots of spot colors. What they're doing there is they're effectively trying to mimic gravure technology or gravure processors.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You don't get the efficiencies that way. So where we come from is we try to educate our customers on these modern Flexo processors, which is ECG, if you can, which is CMYK OGV, orange, green, and violet. Print at a lower line screen. So instead of trying to mimic gravure at 175, you can run the press more efficiently if you're printing at 133, 150, or even 110 line screen. And there's lots of things in the software and our plate technology that we can help to increase the quality of the print. And what we always push people to look for is what we call visual parity on shelf. So what we're not looking for is a like-for-like result when you're looking under a microscope.
Yeah.
We're looking for people to give us a like-for-like result when they're at arm's length in a supermarket, which is how most consumers buy. So
Yeah.
that's really the main element of what we're trying to move people towards in their thought process.
Conscious of our time a little bit. We've got a few minutes left, but again, we've talked a little bit offline. I know there's a lot of growth certainly in your business, which has been fantastic.
Mhm.
A bit of humble bragging, I guess, but I think a lot to do with what you've brought to the company and what you're doing as well and your strategies. If you're looking down path the next 12, 18 months, everything that's going on in the world right now, right? We have Trump tariffs, we've got some real unrest, some stuff going on in the Middle East. What do you see, opportunity wise? What do you see as a bit of risk? What's going on? What do you see as the next moves in the market? How do you see the
So,
buoyancy continuing, or do you think that's going to be impacted a little? What's your thought?
so for sure, I see this growing significantly. Just last week, I was with our chief executive in. I don't know if I keep going there, you cut out again. I'll start the answer again.
Yeah.
So
Thanks,
I certainly see that. It will continue to grow. Just last week, I was in Taiwan and Japan with our chief executive. Taiwan, there's barely any Flexo, so it's a very developed market. I kind of consider Taiwan, Korea, Japan to be very similar in that respect. So there's growth coming from markets that have previously not made the step. There's also huge growth coming from the fact that there's most of the world's population live in this region. We have China and India, both with populations over 1.5 billion, and that move into middle classes is obviously moving as well. So you take India, for example, which is probably my biggest market, and I'm sure it's for a lot of the other Flexo providers as well. There's a lot of people who now will shop in supermarkets rather than at markets in the traditional sense. So that growth will continue. So for us as a provider in this part of the world, clearly we'll be impacted by tariffs, as we were a few weeks ago, by importing product from the US into China. This uncertainty will continue, I think, over the next few years. But the reality is, we have a huge population in Asia Pacific. We have a youth population that are more focused on sustainability. They're more focused on keying themselves into what the local brands and megastars and K-pop and all these things that I don't really understand. As more of the brands start to associate themselves in this, it means that the packaging needs to be refreshed. So for us, I see my career over the next 5, 10, 15 years with Miraclon just being a continuous transition from gravure to Flexo and volumes growing and just looking at new applications.
Yeah, literally giving more flexibility, especially to shorter SKUs, more just using that efficiency that it's bringing, right?
Absolutely. And what we see certainly in the last 2 years, 18 months to 2 years, we're also seeing that more and more printers are looking to invest in their own plate making systems. So previously, the new concept I had to get used to, or kind of remember, I guess, from my early days, is this concept of a pre-press trade shop. Someone who would take the file, do the pre-press work, make the plates and send them out. That's typically where our business has been. But now what we see is more and more of our customers, end customers, that the printers and the converters, more and more of that type of profile of customer are looking to do their own plate making, which is a big investment. It's a big commitment, but they get the response rates that they need. They're able to control the quality. They're able to bring that in-house and probably make savings in a lot of instances. So I've certainly seen more of this moving certainly in Japan. I see it in Southeast Asia. See it in Korea as well, and to a certain extent in India, where I have many trade shops who can provide a plate. So this will be the next step as we move on. And the big thing that we focused on at Drupa was our Champions of Modern Flexo. This is showing where people have made a big success, either by reducing downtime on their press or reducing the amount of inks that they use. These are all the things that moving forward, more and more people will become more conscious of, because that's what will help us move from that low cost gravure printing to probably more efficient, more on par Flexo type of printing.
Yeah, brilliant.
So a long answer to a short question, but you know me.
Mate, I think we're just about out of time. I just want to say thanks so much for giving over what you could of your time. It's been really insightful.
My pleasure.
And yeah, just one last thing. If you had a very short answer this time, if you had
I'll try.
one bit of advice or one thing to say to the community, print packaging, what would it be? Next 12 months, what to do, where to step, where to look? What do you think?
Invest in Flexo. Invest in Flexo. Not just for what we're saying here, but I see a huge growth opportunity. I see that there's more scale in Asia in Flexo than any other type of print technology, and I genuinely believe it's where I'll happily end my career. Hopefully, not in the not too distant future.
Yeah. Great, mate. Great to see you. Thanks for joining
Likewise.
us. Everybody, this has been Andy Yarrow. I'm Scott Mackie, and this has been Print Island Asia. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone.
Hello, this is Jacques Michels for Print Island Europe, reporting for Behind the Headlines. First up, we have the Plotmatic Group. They acquired Pens, the renowned ring wire binding manufacturer, and this is following RAND's recent insolvency, and it marks a strategic expansion move. Then we have Xerox. They finalized a 1.2 billion acquisition of Lexmark, and they're expanding their reach like this over 200,000 clients in more than 170 countries. But one story does stand apart for me, and it's about Bobst. You know, Bobst, the Swiss powerhouse in packaging and label machinery. Well, they announced on the 1st of July, just last week, that Bobst customer Swanline Group in UK made industry history, becoming the first company in the world to connect its entire machine portfolio, Bobst and non-Bobst, analog and digital alike, to the Bobst Connect cloud platform. And that's total factory integration with one digital language, one seamless system, and a breakthrough that nobody had achieved until now. And why does that matter? Well, because the revolution in print and packaging is unfolding faster than many realize. And let me give it to you straight. The future of print and packaging is smarter, greener, and most definitely more connected. So over the years, I've had the privilege to sit down with countless industry leaders. And one conversation that stayed with me was with Jean-Pascal Bobst, the visionary CEO himself of Bobst. And he spoke about the need for radical transformation. And now we're watching that vision become reality. So Swanline's leap forward is more than tech. It's a signal, it's a spark, and it's driven, to my opinion, by four undeniable forces. The first one is sustainability as a strategy. Biodegradable inks, recyclable substrates, and zero VOC emissions. Greener is no longer optional, it's expected. And then data-driven smart factories, machines, logistics, everything, network, intelligent, and efficient production. And then AI is everywhere, from predictive maintenance to personalization in packaging. It is fast and it's here. And then, of course, there are the connected platforms. So people connect more online. It isn't just print, it's a whole new customer experience basically. So if you're in packaging, the message is loud and clear. So buckle up, sync up, level up, ask your suppliers what's going on, because the industry is moving fast and the time to catch the wave is now. So this is Jacques Michels reporting for Print Island Europe. See you next time.
For me, two stories jump out. First, Roland DGA has formed partnerships with N-Glance, Clamp It Paper, but more importantly, Grimco. That's a big deal. And from what I understand, the way that things are structured at Grimco, especially after the acquisition of GSG, is this is going to work very well for the way Roland does business. Roland's a great company, and these are very key strategic partnerships. Congratulations to the folks over at Roland, Mr. Burmeister, Mr. Johansson. Nice work. Next, Benny Landa. Benny Landa's a king. He's got balls the size of coconuts, and when he leaves this industry, half the testosterone in the business is going to leave with him. I admire the man tremendously, and one of my great industry regrets is I may never get the opportunity to work for him. Yeah, I know things can be a little chaotic, but he's an innovator. He's a shot caller, and he's a man that comes up with new ideas and takes risks. It's possible to lose some money, but you couldn't lose it to a better guy. My source at Indigo suggested maybe HP will pick it up. Well, HP sold high the first time around, and he might sell low the second. But either way, he's a man that steps up into the industry with innovative new products, takes a lot of risk, apparently puts a lot of his own money into the game, and he should be admired, and he will always be, in my book, a king. To you, Benny. Cheers.
Hi, it's Tim Cox for Print Island with a quick update on the UK. Obviously, the news is still occupied by Landa and its ongoing saga. We've got Xerox having purchased Lexmark also taking the news, and the recent announcement by Plockmatic, the Swedish finishing company, that it's acquired Rens. Also, on a sadder note, their announcement that they'll be closing the Milton Keynes manufacturing base that has for so many years looked after the manufacture of both Morgana and Watkis technologies, is now moving to Latvia. So a sad day to see jobs and manufacture leaving the UK. Atlas Holdings, who purchased R.R. Donnelley some years back, have also just closed on Delarue as an acquisition, and Paragon continue to acquire and grow with the addition of Service Graphics to their portfolio. Printed Group have expanded with a third factory to meet ongoing growth, which is positive. And we are seeing a lot more MBOs, acquisitions, and collaborations taking place, or at least in planning. Two to mention, there are many. Welsh company ScreenTech undergone an MBO, and Booterman and Oriel have come together in quite a dynamic collaboration, which is fantastic news. So, yeah, let's hope this continues and that many more printers take their lead. On a celebratory note, the Printed Charity Award is 78 rising stars in this year's celebration, ceremony. So that's good news. And the Scottish Print Apprentice of the Year was announced this year as well. So have a look at that. I mean, these, as I've said before, are our futures, so celebrate them. That's the 10th anniversary of the Scottish Apprenticeships of the Year Awards, so long may it live. On another note, the BPIF closes its doors on its apprenticeship schemes very shortly. So if you have or know of anyone that is interested in taking an apprenticeship, old and young, from any line of background, they're not just suited to a kind of an entry level, please get in touch with the BPIF. I'm sure they'll be able to help. And on a positive, Norwich University of Arts have announced through a team of volunteers that they're actually going to be opening up the Art of the Letterpress, which is seeing them calling for donations and support with any historic equipment from the print industry. Welcome. So if you've got anything lying around and you'd like to donate it to a good cause, get in touch. That's the Norwich City of Arts, and their program is called The Art of Letterpress. It's Tim Cox for Print Ireland. Have a fantastic week. Speak soon.
Hi, it's Richard Askham here again. I don't normally pop up at this point in the show, but we've got a particular reason, and Timothy and I have been chatting about that particular reason for the last few minutes to want to introduce this next segment. And it's the practical printer. It's our product review section of episode 2. Obviously, Timothy's with me over here. Hi, Timothy.
Hi, how are you, Richard?
Do you know, I'm really well, thank you. I'm sitting in a nice, cool breeze. It's about 23 degrees here in the UK. It's a lovely summer's day. What about yourself?
Sweltering, pushing 95. My air conditioning went out yesterday. Felt the full brunt of it. Most shops that I visit, very hot.
Yeah. Well, that's
It's
kind of
Hotlanta.
that's a whole answer. I like that. That's kind of why we thought we'd do this little piece because Timothy, as you know, for those of you that have seen episode 1, and welcome by the way, if you're joining us on
Thank you.
episode 2, that makes you a subscriber, and we're very glad to have you with us on Print Island. But Timothy recorded his product review this week in what can only be described as, I think, desert temperatures in a room, and we just thought we should explain to you, the viewer, why he may have looked a little bit like Meatloaf at his final gig. Timothy,
Yeah.
just tell the viewers what the hell I'm talking
Well,
about.
I was thinking of Louis Armstrong. He used to
Okay.
play with his sweat. He had the handkerchief, right? I said, well, I better grab one of those, So I grabbed a shop towel because I was profusely dripping while I did the event because it was warm, very warm. And look, I think it lends itself to the video because the printer I did in question was one that I'm very close to, and it was announced, I think, last October 31st, right around Halloween, that HP was discontinuing the 300 latex series. Right now, the 300 latex series was like very near and dear to my heart. Love the printer, the whole series. I like the 360, 365 the best of the bunch, of the whole series, because I think it had all the core features to it. So I went to a location that's running like 5 of them, and I just shot it exactly as it was, in their spot. And it's cool because, it gets hot in shops. And seeing a printer run in its native environment, which is often not spec, right? The engineers will say it needs to be within these temperatures and this humidity. I'm like, that doesn't happen in the real world, and not in a lot of places.
Yeah.
It's and it's going to be cold and it's going to be warm, and these things are very durable in both conditions. Well, in this one, I was hot.
Okay.
And it was so hot. In fact, my hair was sticking to my head, and I didn't realize it.
Well, when I watched the footage back when we were doing the editing for this episode, I thought we're going to have to talk about this. We can't just present you as melting on screen.
Right. I needed 2 cold German beers, actually. I only had 1.
I think that should be our new star rating. How many cold beers do we need
How
to
many
judge?
cold German beers there are?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So listen, we talked about this piece being an RIP for the HP 360. I had no idea that you were going to film it actually inside the crematorium, but
Yeah.
I'll let you in. I'll let you introduce this piece.
Absolutely, folks. This is my fond farewell to a wonderful printer that I think made HP latex in a certain respect, and it also certainly solidified my relationship to the product. I was its champion, its evangelist, its latex czar for almost a decade, and loved it. Loved working for HP. Loved everything about it. It was a real joy. It was a wonderful ride, and I wanted to say goodbye to an old friend and something that made my life very pleasant. So,
Well, we
without
will
further
say
ado, the farewell to the HP 300 series.
we'll say a small prayer while you watch this.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Timothy Mitchell, and I am the Practical Printer. Digital printing for practical people. Not that long ago, seems like a lifetime ago, I was the latex czar. Yeah, I know, it's a ridiculous appellation, but I'm a ridiculous man. As the latex czar, I largely built my reputation, and I hope helped build HP Latex's reputation on one particular printer that was a dynamite success for HP, and really, I still believe, put HP Latex on the map. That printer is a printer right here behind me. First of all, cheers. I had to hide it a little bit, but I do have my ice cold German beer. When you're in a production facility, especially somebody else's, you have to hide the beer. Otherwise, you send a message to the employees that they too can drink beer while they operate their presses, instruments, and calendared equipment. and especially the finishing equipment's the concern. So here's my spindle. It's almost like my microphone. I remember these spindles. I remember everything about this printer. And the reason I really want to do this is a tribute. It's an encomium. It's a farewell to an old friend. See, at the time it was announced that this printer was officially headed to the graveyard, and I stand here in a way metaphorically on top of the cemetery. I have a 360 behind me, but I'm also surrounded by 370s, which is the 360 with a bulk ink system. They're all still running. They're all still viable. And that comes as no surprise because the HP Latex 360 was a dynamite, rugged, durable, reliable, proven little printer that changed the digital printing industry forever, introduced a completely new ink technology in its mature form, and allowed people to do things with a printer that they had never done before. More than any other thing, this printer changed the way people printed. It eliminated solvent, or it certainly significantly controlled solvent's influence, and then also heralded to the arrival of UV LED. When this printer was released, there were no lower end or commercial affordable UV LED. And honestly, this printer still prints circles around some LED printers in certain applications. And the reason why? Water-based ink, outdoor durable, very scratch and scuff resistant, no particular odor, environmentally friendly and sustainable. Certainly the technology I would prefer. I'm running in closed spaces for my own health and well-being and the health and well-being of my employees. It hit all the marks, and it introduced a whole bunch of innovations from the previous gens that I think changed the way people did their printing. The first and most remarkable, HP introduced an ink technology change. Now, HP is an ink innovator. They own their own ink chemists. They own their own they own their chemists. They own their ink chemistry. They own their own ink manufacturing. They manufacture their own print heads. So one of the things about being truly vertical is you can come up with real innovation, which HP did. This particular printer was a result of that innovation. They introduced the optimizer. The optimizer is a solution that lays down on the media, and when the ink drops down, it fixes it and holds it in place so it doesn't bleed or coalesce. Essentially, it overcame the limitation of the 26500 and its predecessors, which was there was a heater here. The heater that I used to open up and look at, I actually branded myself at one point with that heater. Well, that heater limited the printer's effectiveness and limited its productivity. You could only go so fast because you had to evaporate. It was very good on paper, but everything else, a bit of a disappointment. And it created a level of complexity. Okay, you have two heaters and you have to figure out the right temperatures and all this stuff. People just didn't understand how it worked. When they introduced the optimizer, it significantly accelerated the speed, the productivity went up, the ease of use went way up, and now you have a really viable technology that you can put on the market that you can show people how to use without confusing them. Having an easy to use printer for most people is a huge plus. I could train somebody to run this printer successfully in a half an hour. It's easy. And easy to use is a big benefit in a complex market with all kinds of technology. And then you have all the software and finishing and all that. Make the printer simple, make the printer easy, and people will gravitate towards it. And they did in droves. From the market share where the HP was when the 26500 came out to the 360 changed the world. When I saw it for the first time in Barcelona, I knew they had a monster success. This thing was going to be huge. I put my foot on the gas and did everything I could to promote it for nearly 10 years. So it seems fitting that I would offer a farewell to this old friend because, my, what a great product it was. Other innovations in it, which were key, software. Ever since this in particular, HP stepped up and became the king of software within this mid-range and low-end commercial market. HP doesn't have their own RIP. They are completely integrated with Onyx, Flexi, Caldera, Print Factory, you name it. The reason why is because they recognize that that's how things get done. Third-party RIP will be integrated, and they will offer this printer with different softwares depending on what you prefer to buy. Depending on the configuration, you can even have softwares, third party, that come with it that are bundled into the price, like Flexi is with the print and cut. The printer introduced a software refinement that kind of stemmed around something HP did, which made it very easy for you to do certain things. Namely, it has a beautiful touchscreen panel, but it also has a built-in i1, and they had their own color creation software so that you can load a media like a paper, an adhesive vinyl, a banner, a canvas. It doesn't much matter. Unless it's too textured or it's a backlit, you can build your own color work for every mode yourself in about a half an hour. So this is an adhesive vinyl on here behind me. I can either do one of two things: go to the media locator, download it. They have hundreds of them on there, so that was probable. The onboard i1 would color calibrate it, i.e., it would do a linearization for you and keep the color consistent to the extent an onboard device can. If you're panel printing on this printer, I would recommend an external i1 and a little better software on the external side to maintain color consistency on panel printing. Onyx offers that, Print Factory offers that, Flexi offers that, but you're going to have to make more of an effort with panels because it's thermal print heads. And thermal print heads, super easy of use, super easy to replace, very durable, very rugged, but they will tend to drift quicker and more often. And if you have to have color and tile consistency, an external device is going to be the way to go. But I'm ahead of myself. You can do your own modes: 8 pass, 10 pass, 12 pass, all on the printer using the onboard Spectro. HP has its own software to create it, and it was pretty good. It was more than good enough. They've since refined it with the new iterations of the 700 and 800, and now I'm told the 730 and 830. But they were the first ones to really do it in a way that integrated completely with the software. And what that means is, I don't care what rip you have. Everything is done on the printer, and then the rip turns on, bidirectionally communicates, takes that i1, takes that ICC profile, brings it in, and now you can print with a custom ICC built right on the printer. Nobody else had that. As far as I know, nobody still has that. It's very unique because you have to develop your own color software, and HP did that. That's what set it apart, and really, their software is still like light years ahead of just about everybody else. The manners on this printer, man, it's a good dog. It's the best dog of all time. I used to call it a cactus. It just sits there, you leave it alone, you don't have to do anything. I'd be gone for weeks. This thing, I knew the minute it's been in hibernation, who knows, it's been weeks since it's been run. I hit that come out of hibernation button. I know there's no error messages. I know there's no finicky nonsense. There's no bugs. It's a lockdown printer. That makes it rugged on build quality, easy to use, easy to load, reliable and consistent, and people just got used to that. And now it's very difficult when you're introducing other products that are buggy and flaky and unstable. Man, this thing was a buy, and it was a gem. So build quality solid, productivity when you got rid of that wait time and you don't have to gas off to laminate. It's got 3M certifications on the ink so you can run vehicle wraps, print on all kinds of material. If it's on a 3-inch core, I used to joke, you can probably run it. Man, I even ran double stretch fabric on here. Now I had to babysit it, but I got it to work. There was all kinds of cool stuff you could run on this printer, and there were all sorts of easy ways to make little modifications to the take-up unit and everything, and that's why I made like 100 and some videos, because this printer would do it. You just sometimes had to figure out how. It was super easy to operate. The software was totally dialed in, great manners. And at the time, service was still, a lot of companies did their own service. You had dealers who were servicing dealers. Bell and Howell and all that was really nowhere in sight yet, and HP was servicing or the dealers were servicing. But honestly, these printers needed very, very little attention. It was almost the perfect HP printer for the perfect time with a perfect ink set, and all of the right technology came together. The only step back a little bit was that it didn't print paper as well as the previous iterations. And there was a reason for that. Namely, when you're printing paper and you're putting all this ink down in a water delivery vehicle, that water sits on the paper. It hits this first heater, which is also your secondary and finishing curing heater, and it would buckle. That buckling would travel back in the print path, and you would have a little scrape from the heads because the paper is now not flat. Other than that, everything on this printer went off with clockwork. I mean, even the fabrics that I printed, if it had a little salvage edge or a little rough, it would just kind of clean the nozzles, right? It would just keep right on chugging along. So Easy to use, great manners, reliable, durable. And once you kind of got the feel of everything, man, this printer was hard to give up. And that's why they're running everywhere still. And that's why a lot of people would rather have two. By the way, the difference between the 365 and the 360 was just the number 5. It was the decal on there. If you were current on your firmware, there wasn't much difference. If you had two 365s, you can make a case that that was a better arrangement than having an 800 because, or even at the time, the 570, because you're getting 150 square feet an hour, 120 square feet an hour, great quality, and now you have redundancy. Ink's easy to use, print heads easy to replace. Great printer, guys. I wanted to be there when you announced that you were retiring it so that I could offer my official tribute. I couldn't. I had some conflicts of interest, but now that I can. Phenomenal printer. If you can pick one up used in a good price, I would do it. HP made their name. HP latex really got born here as something that people became truly familiar with. And I'm super incredibly proud to have been associated with it and to have been the goofy latex czar for almost 10 years because I believed in the product. I still do. I would still have one, and you should too. Great product, HP. I salute all the engineering team in Barcelona. You made a phenomenal thing. You made a thing people wanted, and you made a thing that people were proud to own.
Next time on Print Island.
It's almost like the digital version of Fantasy Island back in the days, for those that remember that show. We're like the largest company nobody's ever heard of. 94 production facilities, 10,000 plus employees. That's still an area that the industry has to solve for. Now, there's different platforms that are making it a little bit easier, but those costs are coming down.
Thanks everyone for watching. Trust that you've really enjoyed this content as much as I have. It was fascinating. Even although I've known Andy for some time, I haven't sat down and really talked in depth with him about his business and how things are transforming over Asia Pacific. Fascinating to hear how the old Kodak business is moving forward and going from another level to another level. Our hope here at Print Island is that we can bring you even more rich content like this that you can enjoy, find insightful. This has been Print Island. I'm Scott Mackie. Thanks for watching.